let me go ahead and get into our second story. So obviously you guys know about the school shooting in Texas that has happened. More information has come out about this. Obviously, a lot of us are really upset with the police department in Uvalde. And this story came out about why the cops did not do what they should have done, which is go in and try to save as many children as possible. There were some police officers that went in to save their own kids and left the other kids in. There were other police officers that would not go into the building. So I want you to listen to this interview here, which is the Texas police lieutenant says cops were reluctant to engage gunmen. So let's go ahead and go into this here. I'm going to play this video, but I have a lot to say about this. This is probably one of the most horrible explanations I've heard.
Do you believe, Lieutenant, for the officers on the scene who were there, as you correctly point out, to wait for this second tactical team to arrive before fully pushing into that school and neutralizing the gunman?
So what we do know, Wolf, is that there was multiple officers that arrived on scene. There was 3 officers that arrived that made entry at one of the entrances where the gunman actually made entrance to. We had another 4 officers that made entry at the other entrance of the school. So there was officers inside that school. As they were taking gunfire, they were also calling in for reinforcement, backup, tactical teams, snipers, any additional personnel that could arrive to assist to not only with the situation, but also to assist in evacuating students and teachers. At that time, that's when a U.S. Border Patrol tactical officer arrived, also with a Zavala County Sheriff's deputy, as well as 2 additional Uvalde Police Department officers were able to go into that classroom with a ballistic shield as cover. And of course, we know that one of those officers, an agent, actually was shot, was grazed at the top of the head, but they were able to shoot and kill the suspect and preserve any other life. We know that there was other injured children inside that classroom that they were able to save as well and get them to cover. And at that point, it became a recovery process, a rescue operation, trying to rescue the injured and also any other potential children or teachers that were inside those classrooms.
But don't current best practices, Lieutenant, call for officers to disable a shooter as quickly as possible, regardless of how many officers are actually on site?
Correct. The active shooter situation, you want to stop the killing, you want to preserve life, but also one thing that, of course, the American people need to understand is that officers are making entry into this building. They do not know where the gunman is. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where this suspect was at, they could have been shot. They could have been killed. And at that point, that gunman would have the opportunity to kill other people inside that school. So they were able to contain that gunman inside that classroom so that he was not able to go to any other portions of the school to commit any other killings.
Was it a mistake, do you believe, Lieutenant, for the officers on the scene who were there, as you correctly point out, to wait for this second tactical?
I want you to hear this last part one more time because this sounds like a piece of crap to me. Let's listen to this last part one more time. One thing that, of course, the American people need to understand is that officers are making entry into this building. They do not know where the gunman is. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where this suspect was at, they could have been shot. They could have been killed. And at that point, that gunman would have the opportunity to kill other people inside that school. So they were able to contain that gunman inside that classroom so that he was not able to go to any other portions of the school to commit any other killings. Let's talk about something for a second. When people sign up to be a police officer, they know the danger they are putting themselves in. They know that there is a chance that any day on the job, out in the field, that they could be killed, that they could lose their life. That is the job that they chose. People aren't forced to be cops. So essentially, you have the lieutenant telling you here, well, they could have been shot if they went in. And that's a part of their job. That's the risk that you take when you decide to become a police officer. So basically, They were trying to save themselves first. This whole talking point that this lieutenant gave, that they needed to wait until the second unit got there, till the SWAT team came in, sounds like a bunch of bull to me. You have to think about the fact that there were more police officers than there was a shooter. There was one shooter. There were multiple police officers. What do you have? What do they have their guns for? What? They signed up for this job and they weren't actually, I don't know, expecting to actually have to fight? Someone mentioned about Columbine that in that particular case, they didn't have to wait for the second units to show up. They went in. So let me get this straight, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen videos of the parents standing outside the school. They wouldn't let the parents go in. The parents wanted to go in and save their kids. They said, no, you can't. But at the same time, the police officers didn't want to go in. If you are a police officer and you're afraid that you may get shot on the job to the point where it will stop you from intervening when you are supposed to, then do the rest of us a favor, grab your badge and take it off. Because this is what you sign up for when you decided to become a cop. They couldn't go against one person. So other kids died because they were afraid that they would be hurt. Do you understand the logic of that? Does anyone understand the logic? Imagine if you had firefighters who were afraid that they would be burned, who were afraid to risk their life, that their lives might be affected on the job. Imagine if firefighters didn't run inside of the burning house. And then people wonder why I continue to say we need to defund the police. We have continued to give them more and more money. They can't even do their damn job. What did he think this position was going to be? Mondays at Dunkin' Donuts? What do they think they were going to do? Just ride around the car and cruise and just eat donuts and coffee and not really have to fight or do anything? Aren't they trained to apprehend a shooter? I go back to this again. Police don't prevent crime. We just had 2 mass shootings pretty much back to back, a couple days in between each other. Police solve 0.02% of crimes. So knowing both of those things and knowing that police protect capital, police don't really protect people, why in the hell are we continuing to give the police more money? If you think that's tough, now this is coming from the White House. White House sidesteps question about police response to Texas school shooting. The White House refused to call for an investigation into the police response to the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, saying that President Joe Biden has the utmost respect for the men and women of law enforcement. This is how screwed up our country is right now. All of these kids lost their lives, and our own president will not even call for an investigation of this police department. When I tell you they don't care about your kids, believe me, they don't. They let the child tax credit in. They don't care about your kids. They don't want to investigate the police department with this particular incident. They don't care about your kids. This is one of the problems with the United States. This is a country of individualism. This is not a country of community. We don't really have community in this country. We have individualism. That's a big part of the problem. And when you have that type of thinking and that type of mindset, it teaches you to worry about yourself, to care for yourself, to focus on yourself, to care about your own. It does not teach you to protect and care about your community. I've lived in other countries and I have never seen or heard about as many mass shootings as we have in this country in those other countries. Some of them don't have any. Even if they've had some, none of them have as nearly as many as we do. That's how violent this country is. You know why? Because the people here are not cared for. We don't even want to give everybody health care in this country. People talking about mental health. How are you going to do mental health and everybody doesn't have health care? Who's going to pay for that if you can't afford to do it? We don't want to give everyone a decent education. We don't want to give everyone a place to live. We don't want to give everyone a living wage. These are the problems with capitalism in this country. And we have now entered late stage capitalism. And if you think that this is brutal, it's only going to get worse if we do not stop what we are doing. We do not stop being selfish and we don't start caring for people in our community and caring for each other. That's where mutual aid can come in. This is where direct action can come in. Fighting against these types of decisions against the United States government, where they're telling you they don't even want to investigate a police department. This is where electoral politics, people like the squad, this is where voting is not really going to help you, because people voted for Joe Biden. People voted for members of the squad, but they are the ones that we have to push back against. So if the politicians are not going to help you, we have to help each other. Let's go to Caitlin Johnstone. I want to show you something that she said. Watching an entire country learn that it's not actually a cop's job to save anyone or risk any danger. And the only reason they assumed otherwise was because of movies and TV shows. A lot of people in this country right now are very shocked. They are just now seeing what some of us have seen, especially in Black communities, what some of us have seen for a long time, that the cops don't protect you. They protect capital. That's the problem. Some Americans are just now seeing that. They're just waking up to it.